Hey everybody, welcome into my latest live stream. I just want to give you an update on what went down and some common misconceptions about police protocol, and I want to address, like I say, some of the comments. The amount of ignorance of how the interaction with police is perceived is bizarre to me. Many of you apparently have never either don't understand what your rights are or painted a picture of me somehow obstructing the police. So I want to be clear to you that I was surprised the audio was picked up by my wireless microphone because I was all the way down at the end of the block. The police were pretty far away. They felt that there was something in danger in this house. They didn't want to get too close to it. And what the police do, there were about 15 police cars, and there was a helicopter, and each car had about 2 officers in it, so about 30 police officers surrounding me with loaded weapons. And the one that you heard me talking to was distracting me. That's their job, right? So when he distracts me, another officer can go into the house and do things where they keep me busy. And if you listen to the dialogue, if you really listen to what I'm saying, you'll hear the police officer being argumentative and hostile. And I'll give you an example, and I'd love to play the audio and go by it step by step. There's a lot of criticism. People felt I wasn't respecting the police, but that wasn't the case at all. In fact, as you can tell, there was no reason to arrest me. I never told them they weren't allowed to enter my house. But again, I said that they were being pranked, and they said, well, we still have to take it seriously. And I said, no, I don't, because I'm the only one who knows what's going on. You don't know. My wife had just pulled up from work, and they had taken her out separately to interview her. And then my neighbors were concerned because they thought they were being yelled at by the police officers. They didn't know, you want me in the house, out the house, and they weren't even talking to her. They were talking to my wife. And so when you have loaded weapons and you've got scared police officers, you just don't know what a scared United States police officer will do. I would much rather be in the woods with a wild animal, because then I can fairly predict what they're going to do. Personally, my feelings are, if you're a police officer and you feel fear, you should pick another job. If you're afraid of bad guys, you should pick another job. If you're afraid of being shot, go do something else for a living. Likewise, if you're afraid to get bit by a dog, you shouldn't be a dog catcher. Now, that's my opinion, okay? And that being said, I said you're being pranked. You said you still have to take it seriously. I said I don't have to take it seriously because I'm the only one who knows what's happening here. My wife just pulled up. She doesn't know what's going on. Neighbors don't know what's going on, and clearly none of you guys know what's going on. And instead of saying, hey, thank you for that information, we still have to do our job, the police officer instead decided to escalate. And I don't know why he made that decision. He's a very young guy. I'm more than twice his age probably. And you could tell he was not very well prepared in how he articulated his words. And in many cases, some word salad came out from his frustration. And eventually he gave up talking to me because he wasn't listening to me, and I was getting very offended that I'm giving you critical information to assist you, and you're insulting me, demeaning me, and otherwise treating me like I'm a bad guy. So if you don't want me to think all cops are bad guys, why don't you not think all citizens are bad guys? So what ends up happening is they walk through the house, and all that's caught on video. Of course, you guys saw some of that. And they obviously see everything I told them was true and accurate. They had my driver's license. They verified who I am. And then they left without an apology or an introduction. So while many people can say I should let them do their job, I never said they couldn't. There's nothing in my dialogue that tells them they can't do their job or they shouldn't do their job. That all came from the police officer. That's the kind of psychology police officers use. He knew I was on a wireless microphone. You can clearly see it. And I think he was conscientious about taking a stance that it painted him as though he was defending himself, although I was just offering information. And I find that sad that a police officer behaved in such an unprofessional manner. When I talked to his lieutenant, I was also disappointed that he turned his back and walked away from me. I called the Internal Affairs office, contacted the mayor's office. I've asked for a statement from the mayor, and it was made clear the mayor will not make a statement now or ever. I did open a case with Internal Affairs. I've got an open case with the FBI, and I contacted local news media and tech media. So that being said, the city of Glendale did not know what swatting was, and I had to explain what swatting was to their internal affairs department. But Tempe, a city just a little ways over, when in interviewing a dispatcher in Tempe, they acknowledged they know what a swatting call is. They've had 2 in the last 2 weeks. When they were told what the 911 call said, they laughed and said, yeah, that we would still address that, but we wouldn't send out 15 squad cars, because we would know we're trained. We have training for this. Glendale PD had no training for this, so my goal is to get them trained. I'm not here to demonize the police. I support the police. You'll hear me say that in the video. You hear me say, I am your friend. You hear me say, I am not your enemy. Despite that, I was treated poorly. And then here's where I want you to listen really, really careful. Stop what you're doing and listen to me. Once they did what they needed to do, which I did not prevent them, or nor did I tell them not to, once they exited my home and realized everything I told them was true, instead of extending a hand to handshake, to introduce themselves, to give me a smile and encourage me to breathe deeply and calm down and try to repair the psychological trauma that they've created, they scampered like little rats. They got in their little cars and they scampered away and said, that's our procedure, we have no apologies for it. So in the meantime, some imaginary phone call was taking precedence in their mind with fear over the reality of what they were seeing, smelling, hearing with regards to the environment. They were denying the reality they were in because the fear in their mind overrode any sense of logic and judgment. Now, I don't know if this is done in training, or I don't know if it's a lack of training, but fear is a very dangerous thing, and I think, as I said earlier, an armed, scared police officer in the United States is the most unpredictable animal in the United States. And I don't say that with disrespect. I say that as fact. You can pull up any news site and you can read how police in the United States like to shoot first, ask questions later. They'd rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6. That is their motto. They do like to CID, which is to confront, intimidate, and distract, which you heard the process of how that works, just like how the scammers work. The police are taught certain tactics. I'm well aware of everything that they were doing. And the ability of them being obstinate and obtuse was getting frustrating for me because I wasn't being treated with the respect that I should have been treated with as somebody that would jump in front of a bullet to save their lives. Once they ascertained I was who I was, once they ascertained and were able to conclude there was a prank call, they continued with the attitude. And I'm very disappointed because that is a severe lack of professionalism that I expect from my local law enforcement officers, and I want to see change. So I'm working to get that changed. So hopefully we'll get something good out of this. The swatting will continue to happen. The police will have to learn how to properly deal with that. Luckily, my dogs did not get shot. And the police, obviously when you watch the video, they know there's no threat. They're not holding their guns properly. I don't know if you're looking for a dead body, why you've got the weapon drawn. I guess dead bodies shoot, I don't know. The immense fear that they used for their excuse was not exhibited in the body language of just a formality. Clearly they knew this was a formality. They gave the house a very cursory glance. Really, you saw them walk through rooms, open doors, and they just left. They weren't in the house 5 minutes. Nothing I did slowed them down. Nothing I did impeded or impaired or obstructed in any way. It was just the officer brought me over, said, hey, let's talk. I didn't say I wanted to talk. They said they wanted to talk. And apparently they decided that escalating and arguing and instigating was the proper way to talk to an unarmed, law-abiding citizen. And I have a problem with that, and I'm looking to get resolved, as well as getting them proper training in dispatch, as well as getting the officers properly trained on not leaving a citizen in trauma, mental trauma. So with that, there are a number of things happening, many of which I can't speak about, but investigations are taking place. And the more the person does, the more likely they'll get caught. So if they quit with their head, maybe they'll get away with it. But if they feel empowered by it and they continue to do it, it's just a matter of time. And I'll keep you up to date on any progress. But like I said, in the meantime, it was uncalled for. It was mishandled. It was unprofessionally handled. And hopefully everything will get better because of it. And I hope maybe somebody's life will get saved, because if somebody else got swatted, maybe they wouldn't have handled it as calmly as I did and as reasonably as I did. And that's how people get hurt. And many people are under the belief that doing that you should be charged with attempted murder, because cops are coming in with weapons drawn, fully expecting an armed response. And as a result, there is a history in the United States recently. 3 days ago on January 8th in Palo Alto, California, this exact same thing happened to a Google executive. And you can Google that if you want to read more about it. So anyway, that's what's happened there. I'm not stopping anything. I'm not stopping streaming. There's some discussion about personal info being made available online. There's nothing online that isn't always been online. I don't hide from anybody. I don't hide my address. I don't hide my phone number. I don't display it, but I mean, if you just did a modicum of research, you could find me, and that's with intent. The reason I do that is I don't fear anything or anyone. I'm not afraid of... It was something I had to go through when I was a kid, when I was bullied, and I just don't feel fear anymore. I just don't, whatever that is that makes people, I don't have it. I get anxiety, you know, I have other things, but not fear. And I think the police officers were upset that I wasn't fearing them. I think it really upset them. But again, when everybody in the world knows it's a game but them, they're the insane ones, not me. And then when they satisfied their knowledge to verify what they were told was true, they didn't calm down, they didn't make it right. They just scurried away like little, like little rats, these little cockroaches. And you know, 20 other police officers watched this and said and did nothing. Maybe if they'd have said something, they'd have been fired. It's not right. It's absolutely not right. It's very disrespectful and uncalled for. And while you could say it was called for in the beginning, it certainly wasn't called for at the end. They just continue to want to instigate. You know, all they had to do was be professional, take a step back, and instead of arguing with me, say, "Hey, man, come here, you know, come shake my hand. Give me a smile. We're both victims of this. We're on the same team, brother. Breathe in, take a deep breath." That's what the officer in charge, the lieutenant in charge, should have done that. Now, I will say I've had a discussion with the lieutenant in charge. We talked on the phone for about a half an hour. He has apologized, and he has admitted that he could have handled it better, and he will keep that in mind the next time an ordinary law-abiding citizen is traumatized by them. They will acknowledge that they caused that and will do reach out to try and mend that fractured relationship. And hopefully their training will be updated so that other people won't be affected by this. And then I had to go talk to my neighbors, you know, and say, "Hey, you don't live next to a crack house or anything. I don't want you to be afraid of where you live," and explain to them what happened. And again, the hacker is a child. This is somebody who, there's nothing original about this. It's a, you know, very quick Google search or looking on Reddit. You can follow all these. It's all very basic, unimaginative, uncreative. This isn't a hacker. This is a script kiddie. You know, I don't know what else they think they can do, but they're not that smart, so I'm really not worried about it. So anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know there's no personal information revealed that you couldn't easily find on your own. There are no other accounts at this time that have been hacked, and it doesn't change anything. I'll still be broadcasting on my regular schedule, still be talking about the things I talk about. Nothing changes, and you're going to have to physically kill me to stop me. So, all right. So Michael W. has contributed $9.99. He says, "Sorry that happened. Glad you're all okay." Yeah, you and me both. You and me both. But again, I really wasn't worried. I knew the police were on my side until the police weren't on my side and remained off my side even when they knew, even when they confirmed, and they knew I was on their side. They insisted I wasn't, even at the very end. And, you know, it is weird. It's like, it's almost like a Twilight Zone. And you're like, "Oh, we're standing on pavement." No, we're not. I mean, I don't know how you can hear the cops do that over and over. When they didn't have anything intelligent to say back, they just said, "No, we're not." What am I supposed to say? "Yes, you are." And then they're going to say, "No, we're not." I'm going to say, "Yes, you are." And we've just degraded ourselves to 4-year-olds. And they call themselves professional law enforcement officers. Perhaps the law enforcement officers should learn to keep their mouth shut instead of embarrassing themselves. They often recommend that to their clients. I'm going to recommend the same to them next time. You should not, if you're in a position as a law enforcement officer and a citizen is walking up to you very calmly and explaining something to you, there's no reason for you to get worked up. It's unexcusable and unprofessional. They did not put the school in lockdown. There's an elementary school down the street. They did not follow procedure. If I was a felon, they did not arrest me. They should have arrested me and put me in the back of the car until their investigation was complete. Then they should have removed the handcuffs. They should have, here's what they should have done. They should have handcuffed me, put me in the back of the car. I can tell you all about the procedures. I can't tell you why I know, but let's just leave it at that. I know what the procedures are. I know where protocol wasn't followed. I know where procedure wasn't followed. And that's why I'm getting internal affairs involved in it. Mistakes were made here, but mostly just bad judgment. And I'm not here to demonize. I want to fix it. I want to help. Again, I support the police. And whether they like it or not, I'm going to support them. And that's the way it's going to be. All right? And I'll keep you guys updated and informed with whatever I learn through the process of the investigation. There'll be a public records request for the 911 call, as well as all the dash cam and body cam footage and audio and any reports filed. I will be collecting all that, and I don't know how long it'll take to get it, but it's just a typical media. Again, as a freelance journalist, this is all, I don't know everything, don't get me wrong, but I know about journalism, I know about the police protocols, and I know about swatting, and I know about hacking and technology. This is my thing. This is what I do. So, again, it's really, the biggest deal to me was the police lack of judgment and common sense. But hopefully something good will come of that we can get them to change those policies and procedures and teach the dispatchers how to recognize these calls in the future. So be that as it may, here we are, and nothing has changed. Okay, except somebody better be looking over their shoulder, because law enforcement is not only embarrassed, they have a vengeance to go after the person who did this, including, well, I don't want to talk anymore about it. Anyway, so Kevin's contributed $5. Let's have a Coke, Carey. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you guys for your contribution. Reloaded says, Carey, I sent you money, $10 Australian through PayPal. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, so anyway, I hope it never happens to you. Being on the business end of 20 plus officers with weapons drawn is, it took a lot internally for me to remain calm and try and put the officers at ease. It's just bizarre to me that the more I tried to put them at ease, the more upset they became. It was always like I was the hostage negotiator and they were the criminals. That's what it felt like. And again, and I want to emphasize this, I was nowhere near my home when I was talking to them. I was not obstructing them. The officer selected to answer me in a hostile and combative way. I don't know why he made that decision. It's a bad decision. The officer choked on several words. Every officer just stood by and watched. They didn't do anything. Despite whether or not they believed what they were seeing was unjust, it is apparently a cause for being fired if they speak up. So I would like to meet each and every officer. I have requested all the officers' names and badges as part of the public records request, and I intend to reach out to each and every one of them and introduce myself to them and make sure they know who I am. So we'll make something good come of it, so they get that call again. Obviously they have to check it out, but they don't need to check it out with 15 squad cars and a helicopter and all their all those weapons. You have a loaded gun pointed at you, multiply that times 20, and you let me know how you feel inside, And it's disheartening how fear is the excuse for that. I mean, if you don't want to be shot at, maybe you shouldn't be a cop. That's all I'm saying. There's a lot. No one forced you in that job. If you're scared, I think you need to find another line of work, and let's let somebody else like me in there. I don't know what fear is. I'm sorry. I used to a long time ago. So it's hard for me to comprehend how they can justify their safety by putting me in their crosshairs. So for their safety, and I don't have any weapons. Yeah, it's weird. It's just really strange, the psychology of fear and the impact it has on people. So we're going to work on that. They know who I am now, and the chief of police knows who I am, and the mayor knows who I am, and internal affairs knows who I am, And there's a couple other agencies that I can't mention that know who I am. So we're good. It's all good. All right, some other contributions come in. Let me give you guys some shouts out here. We've got, let's see. Jim Maloney's contributed $10. He says, here's a little support, Carey. Glad you're all right. Hey, thanks, Jim. Gigazoid Tex contributed $10. He says, keep calm and carry on. We are with you, Carey. Thank you, guys. Eric's contributed $5 Canadian. Mark Musgraves contributed $5. Says, glad to hear you're not letting this defeat you. We love your live stream. Yeah, so I wanted to make this video for two reasons. One, to let you know that ain't gonna stop me. Two, to let you know, I was surprised at the number of people who were emotionally affected by this. I don't know you. I don't know most of you, but most of you feel like you know me. And I received some text messages, and you know, there were people that were in tears, that they feel they know me that well. They've never met me, and they were in tears, and that means a lot to me. And I you know, didn't expect that. It was wild. So appreciate you, but you don't have to worry about me. You don't worry about me. If you understand what I went through in my childhood, which I talk about in another video, this is nothing. If you can imagine the worst possible mental and physical torture going on for years, in order for me to overcome that and not die, this was nothing. It was honestly, it was frustrating. I was frustrated, but it wasn't anything for you guys to worry that, you know, nothing bad was going to, it was fine. So anyway, thank you guys. I wasn't expecting that, and I don't want you guys to feel bad for me. I'm a big boy. It's all good. But it's nice that you guys thought that. But I feel bad. I feel bad for you guys, you know, for the ones that were emotionally impacted by that event, because you were victims as well. Magni Johansson's contributed 50 Norwegian krona. He says, thank you for updating us. Yvonne Marikals contributed, Yvonne has contributed $5 Canadian. Says, felt bad for you yesterday. Pranksters are terrible sometimes. Well, look, that's for the police department. That's not for me. That's their job. That's not my job. So let's hope that they move forward in a positive manner and a productive one in the future. Mike Illman has contributed $5 Canadian and says, thanks for the update. Glad you're okay. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. I've had numerous interactions in the past with the police, and let's just say it's never not been fine. Every interaction that I've had with the police, even including going to court on a couple of occasions, I've walked out the winner. Usually it doesn't go to court. It has gone to court in the past. Again, I don't want to talk too much about it, but I'm familiar with the processes and procedures, and they could have done a much better job. That's all. You can do your job, but it doesn't mean you have to be a jerk about it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's part of the job. I don't think they trained you to be a jerk. Maybe that was a benefit on your resume. By the way, I'm a jerk. Hey, let's hire the jerk. And again, everybody can talk about they needed to do what they needed to do. I never said they couldn't. Never stood in their way. But when they were done, to just scamper away, it was cowardly. No, the whole thing was cowardly on behalf of the police, and I'm very disappointed at their cowardly behavior. But that being said, I do support the police, and I want to make sure you understand that. If the police don't want us thinking all cops are bad, then they shouldn't think all of us are bad. And it shouldn't be us versus them. It should just be us. And I'm very much working to make sure police know that I'm on their side. I may one day save one of their lives. They need to think about that. An officer in distress can happen at any time. And if it happens in front of me, you better believe I'm not going to think for a minute maybe that officer had it coming. No, of course not. I'm going to be on the officer's side helping him out. Not everybody's a bad guy, and not every cop's a bad cop. In fact, I'd say most people are good people, and of course most cops are good cops. But I'll tell you what, if there was ever a time where I had to reevaluate that, this is it. I will say my conversation with the lieutenant after the fact was civil and professional, and he did reassure me. And for that, I have a heartfelt gratitude. Now, if I can just get the other 20 plus officers to at least shake my hand and acknowledge who I am and that I'm not a bad guy, having police know who you are and giving you the benefit of the doubt is a great sense of security. Absolutely. I don't feel good about having my home invaded. I don't feel good that this is my safe space and it's been violated. They've entered my home. They've entered my sanctuary, my inner sanctum, my church, and they have tainted it. They have, I don't know how to explain it, but I don't really feel as secure anymore in my own home. I hope that will go away with time. Again, not a fault of the swatter, it's a fault of the police response. That being said, let's move on to some other topics. Do you think it went well afterwards because they were on audio video? It didn't go well afterwards. They maintained being jerks the entire time, even though their justification for being jerks was one thing, and then after they did everything they said they needed to do, they remained jerks. It's weird, right? Harass a law-abiding citizen, mentally torture him with weapons drawn, invade his home, and then go, well, we're just glad nobody's dead. Why would anybody be dead? It's weird. It's weird. And if there's somebody dead, why are you entering my home with your weapons drawn? Is the dead person a threat? It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. And you can see the way they're walking through my house. They're not even having proper posture. That's a whole nother issue that clearly shows they knew. They couldn't say anything because they could get fired. You can look at their physical demeanor and you can see their arms are relaxed and they just going through the formality and we did it. Right? And nothing I said or did prevented that, slowed it down, or made it go any faster, because I was a whole nother house away while all that was going on. So because you guys got the audio, it's interesting to read the comments that I was somehow fighting with the police or disrespecting the police. I treat people the way they treat me. You know, if they want to extend a hand, I'll extend a hand. If they want to argue, I'll argue. If they want to push, I'll push back. I don't care. You know, again, in most cases, if they wanted to arrest me, I would have complied, no problem. You could arrest me, put me in the squad car, do your thing, and say, oh, you're good. Take me out of the car, thank me for my cooperation, and apologize for the inconvenience. Here's my card, here's my name, here's my number, here's a number to internal investigations. We're on your side. They didn't do that. They didn't end that well. They just dug themselves in deeper. They were obstinate, and I'm very disappointed that they just lack judgment. They're just like little robots, little bureaucratic robots who are incapable of their own thought. And it's very disturbing to have somebody with a gun incapable of their own independent thought. Policies and procedures, policies and procedures, policies and procedures. That's all that matters. Well, reality is irrelevant. So I do hope to make them aware of this. I mean, some of them are aware. My goal is to make the entire department aware. We're working on it. I accidentally clicked the link tweeted by the Nefarious Party. So the link that was tweeted is a Tor link. It's for the dark web. And again, there's nothing in there that you just can't Google. There's actually, anybody who's bought a case badge from me, you have my return address on the envelope. It's any modicum of searching. By the way, some of the information that they had was old, outdated, and inaccurate. Remember, I'm a tech guy, and I've also planted false information on the web. And I do that on purpose so that there isn't just one address for me, there's several. But if you have this much intelligence, I'm really easy to find. I'm not encouraging you to come over. Please don't. Make an appointment. But I'm not afraid of you or whatever it is you think I should be afraid of. I have nothing to be afraid of. So I have no reason to hide. Somebody was concerned I was showing an IP address on the router, but the router was plugged into another router. It was only showing a LAN. You really should learn the difference between a private LAN address and a WAN address before suggesting to somebody that they're, who's a security expert and a computer expert, self-proclaimed, right? Despite my certifications, we'll just say self-proclaimed. But the level of misunderstanding that people got and imagination, somebody thinks the whole thing was a prank. It's an expensive prank. I found some of the biggest guys I could get, put them in authentic police uniforms, gave them each a gun. I'm not that dumb, and I'm not that smart, and I'm not that rich. But I am hoping that the Onion page is dead now. You got to use Tor browser. The link never works with a regular. You got to use a. If you want to pull that file, you got to learn how to use the dark web. You can't pull anything off the dark web. It's going to be there forever. But anyway, again, it's nothing you can't find anyway. It's really not a big deal. So like I said, I will get the 911 call. When I have the dash cam and body cam footage and I want to go, we'll put it all together in a video and piece it all together so you can see it all unfold from numerous angles. But it was really a non-event with the exception of overly zealous and scared police officers who have vivid imaginations and lacked the acceptance of the reality of their eyes and ears and nose, and everything was telling them everything was okay. It's very interesting to me that somebody can defy reality and justify it through fear and imagination. And to have that person have a badge and a loaded gun, using that justification as their behavior, is frightening. So, yeah, absolutely don't swear to the police. I did not swear to the police. Don't insult the police. I did not insult the police. And don't obstruct the police. And I did not obstruct the police. But you do have every right to defend yourself. You absolutely are under no obligation to lay down and take a beating because they're superior to you. They're not superior to me. We're both citizens of the United States. Their job is to enforce the law. No law was being broken. If anything, they were violating my rights with the excuse that they were protecting me. And so that's a dangerous place. It's a dangerous attitude to have in this country, and it's sad. It's sad that so many people live in fear that the vast majority of Americans think that's okay. Obviously, they think it's okay because it's allowed to happen. It's been happening for years. When it happens to you and it's your home and it's your daughter or it's your family or it's somebody you care about, on the business end of all those weapons, you might suddenly feel differently about how you define freedom. Marty's contributed $10. Hey, Marty, thank you so much. So Marty is, we're in the process of ordering parts for him. His computer will be the next computer that we're building, and I'm looking forward to that build. It should be, hopefully, glad they didn't bust down your door with a battering ram. Oh no, the doors were open. No, the doors were all open. The doors, let me say the doors were unlocked. There was no reason to use a battering ram. Yeah, the doors, it was all open, so they could walk in. Again, regardless of the number of police that were here, regardless of the overkill, the overreaction, and the overzealous nature of the obstinate and obtuse behavior of those enforcing the law, they had an opportunity to make it right at the end. They had an opportunity. Once it was all done, I never stopped them. I never said they couldn't go in my house. I never insulted them. I never obstructed them. I never got in their way. I was fully cooperative. I have a right to question the reasoning behind their actions, and that's all I did. And they were incapable, in their frustration, they were incapable of reasoning other than their fear. Everything that they said was based on their fear. It's not a good reason because it's not justified. There's nothing to be afraid of. Look, what is there to be afraid of? What are you afraid of? Well, I don't know. Well, that's a good reason. If you're going to fear what you don't know, you should be afraid all the time because you have no idea how much you don't know. What a bizarre justification. So that being said, it's not really about the overzealous cops and their obtuse attitude. It was about once they satisfied everything they needed to do, which I fully, permitted, they kept their attitude. It's weird. It's weird. Once they verified, I'm the kind of guy that'll jump in front of you to save your life. I'll take a bullet for you. They didn't care. And they didn't care the disruption. They didn't care about the mental trauma of all those weapons. They didn't care about the home invasion. They didn't care. So I'm doing my job. Yeah. And apparently to do your job, you have to be a jerk. Wasn't aware that that was part of the requirement. I thought you could do your job and be nice. I learned something new. So again, everything's fine, and I just gotta sorry, I'm reading the comments. I just have to do what I can do to help others. Like I said, you guys don't have to worry about me. I'm fine. No big deal. I want to reemphasize this as much as necessary. This is nothing compared to what I went through as a teenager. Doesn't even scratch the surface. And you can tell from the tone of my voice, I wasn't worried at all. I was frustrated that it felt like I was talking to a 4-year-old with a gun. Not a pleasant thing. So, let's hope they change their protocols and procedures. Let's hope they learn how to respect law-abiding citizens. Let's hope they can use this as a learning tool to help establish a community outreach program and understand the damages that they're causing psychologically to innocent people that are being affected. They're victims of it too, don't get me wrong, but they're the professionals and they need to know better and they need to behave at a higher standard, or they need to take the word professional off. That's it. And if they're afraid of being shot at, they should quit and find another job. Simple. End of story. They didn't, after I spoke to the lieutenant privately after the event over the phone, he did invite me on a ride-along, thinking that my attitude would change if I was ever on a ride-along. It wouldn't change. He clearly doesn't know me, and he clearly believes that fear is a justification for random, hostile, and combative behavior. I don't agree with that. I never will agree with it. And can't reason with the unreasonable, and I don't expect a police officer to be unreasonable after they verified everything they needed to verify. There was no reason to remain unreasonable. That's ego and pride, ladies and gentlemen. Ego and pride. And you know what? They're human beings, but they're supposed to be professional. They're supposed to be trained. They're supposed to protect and serve. And they use protecting and serving as an excuse to invade my home, to threaten me with weapons, to demoralize and to disrespect me. And when it was all said and done, they just got in their cars and left. And that's a real problem. That is a real problem. Like I said, to say they were just doing their job, fine. Now that you've done their job, now that you see everything that you were told was accurate, now that everything I told you was going to happen happened, everything I told you what was, you verified is, you should show me a little respect and appreciation. But I guess maybe they get fired if they did that. If they said, I'm sorry, maybe they'd lose their job. Maybe they'd get a dock in pay. Oh wait, no. Is there a police policy that they're not allowed to apologize? No police policy, they're not allowed. So these were volunteering choices that they made, and I just want to know why. What did they think they were going to accomplish? Did they win something? Was this a fight? Was this a challenge that they felt that they would lose if they exhibited a modicum of empathy for the person they tortured under the justification of fear? I don't know, but I'm looking to get answers to that. So we'll find out. How much money do you think they spent? Oh, I don't know. No idea. Like I said, I didn't prevent them from doing their job. I never told them they couldn't do their job. I was asking for justification, and he chose to react. I'm very calm. I need you to, if you're one of those people that think that I did something wrong, you should write down the dialogue and read it. Everything I said was calm, cool, and collected, and everything he said was jacked up, adrenaline rushed, and incredibly hostile and combative. You know, if you're under the threat of danger and you could justify that, that's fine. But once you establish there was no threat of danger, there was no reason for that attitude to continue. And if you're going to tell me that a police officer being a jerk is part of the job, I hope it happens to you someday. Karma. Tony Wellows contributed $3.99. He says, here it is for a 2-liter bottle of Coke. All right. There was no reason for the police to give me an apology. I spoke to the internal affairs officer and I spoke to the lieutenant, and they did confirm to me there was absolutely no reason he couldn't have offered me an apology. He backtracked and he did offer his apology. He did admit he could have handled it better. He did admit that he is the one who calls himself a professional, and he did admit that in future cases he will hear my voice in his head and he will handle it differently. And I told him, thank you so much for that. That means a lot to me. Now, if I can just get the other 20 plus police officers to also be on the same page, as well as the chief of police and the mayor, I'll feel like we've made some progress here. Nobody should be treated like that once all the facts are in. There was no reason to continue to escalate and argue once they realized they were dealing with a law-abiding citizen who was being invaded by the police. They should have realized their intrusion, regardless of their justification. It was still an intrusion. It was still uncalled for. They did their job. They should have thanked me for not getting in their way. They should have thanked me for being so cooperative, and they should have apologized for not taking what I said seriously and introduced themselves to me, say, it's nice to know you, I'm sorry we met this way, but let's make something good out of it. That's all. And they had no interest in establishing any community outreach at that time. They scattered. They just scattered. That's very disappointing. It's the type of behavior you expect from a MS-13 gang. That's exactly what I expect. Bully up, beat up, leave. So when you're on the end of it, you may feel differently, but it doesn't matter if you agree with me. I don't care. That's why you're you and I'm me. So I have to tell you, I know several police officers. One of my good friends is a police officer, and I support the police. I know many police officers, and everyone I know will give their life in the service to a complete stranger. I know there's some out there not like that, but everyone I know is like that. And it's really just a behavioral issue. The poor choices were made, poor judgments were made, and if you want to call yourself a professional, you need to address that, because police officers should not be encouraged to escalate. In fact, they should be punished for it. And I am hoping, I'm not looking for retaliation, I'm simply looking to help and try and put an end to maybe increase self-awareness about the potential trauma they're causing to a law-abiding citizen, and then to deal with that trauma after the fact, to say, don't just leave and leave the trauma person there alone. They should have extended a hand. Again, if the cops don't want us to think they're all bad guys, then the cops need to think that not all civilians are bad guys. Give what you get. And get what you give. Somebody's asking about the Twitter account, about the onion link. The onion link can stay. It doesn't bother me. Again, there's nothing. It's just a repeat of information that's easily found on the web. No reason to delete it. It's fine. Just looking through the comments. Good thing I wasn't doing the drunk stream. Yeah, I suppose you're right. So no, it's not a SWAT team. The term is called swatted, but that wasn't a SWAT team. Those were local Glendale PD. But the terminology about what was done is referred to as swatting. So I need you guys to understand that. Some people believe that the video is mistitled because there was no actual SWAT. It is a swatting technique. The whole technique is referred to as swatting. You can Google it and read more about it if you feel that SWAT should be involved to be called swatting, but it doesn't work like that. Excuse me. I guess the Coke is is working. All right. Harry says the mods are hiding or timing people out. I've looked at all that, Harry, and everything's good. Everything they're hiding and timing out should be. I'm not seeing any violations here. Ben DeCures contributed $4.99. Says, hey, Carey, sorry for what you went through. I'm glad you're safe. Crazy people out there. Hope everything will be resolved. Yeah, you just don't expect the crazy people to have guns and badges. That's all I'm saying. I don't expect to have to define reality to a police officer who's so locked in his vivid imagination and fear, he can't see what's right in front of his eyes. That's weird, man. That is so weird to talk to some. So there was an episode of South Park where the guy says to the cop, what about the government spying on us? And there's like this black helicopter that flies over and he goes, look, see, there's a black helicopter. And the cop looks and he goes, that is a pigeon. That's what I felt like I was being talked to by the police officers. I don't know if you can get a modicum of what that feels like for somebody to think you're that stupid, that you can look right at something and they'll tell you that's not what you're seeing, but it's profoundly offensive. I can't even begin to explain the frustration I was starting to feel when you've got a gun and a badge and you're going to argue about what's right in front of us. This is nothing to argue about, and I'm not going to continue that conversation because it's a waste of my time. Somebody needs help. Maybe, you shouldn't have a loaded weapon. Very concerned about the mental health of that officer. One specifically, very concerned about him. So we're going to talk a little bit about that to superiors. Again, I'm not out for revenge. I just want to help. All I'm trying to do is help. And they need it. If I have to explain what swatting is to internal affairs, They're about 15 years behind, and I'm happy to provide them with any documentation, assistance, tutoring, and I'm offering that all free of service to the Glendale Police Department. I suspect they won't take me up on it because it doesn't follow government bureaucracy protocols, which are usually many years behind, but maybe they'll surprise me. You know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I can offer. You know, if I put my hand out and they smack it away, I did what I could. You know, I sleep well at night. Yeah, Taffer 9876 says they should have said, we know this is a prank. Can we look around real quick and be out of your hair? They didn't even have to do that. When I said, hey, this is a prank, they could have said, thank you for the information. Right? They use judgment. They go, this guy's come out. He doesn't have any blood on him. He doesn't have any gunpowder on his hands. There's no damage to the house. There's no broken windows. There's no neighbors out complaining of gunshots. I mean, your senses, your eyes, your nose, your ears, they tell you. You use this every day, except these cops didn't. To identify the reality of a threat. The idea that, so everything on the fear is weird because you can just about use your imagination to justify anything. If you're that insane, if you're that so absorbed in your fear, you can use that to violate numerous people's rights and stomp on people and abuse people, all in the name of protecting them. There's something sick and wrong and twisted about that, and the failure of self-awareness to acknowledge that is disconcerting. But again, if the police officer simply would have said, thank you for the information, we're going to check anyway, okay? And I would have said, and when you check and everything's the way I tell you, you're going to come out and apologize? What was preventing him from saying yes? Why did he choose to say no? These are the answers I want. I want to know why he said no. I want to know what policy that was he following at that point to justify that answer. Poor choice, poor judgment. Somebody needs training. And so I blame the entire department. I blame the chief of police. I blame the mayor because they're allowing this. The fish rots from the head down. The mayor's office, as I said, made it perfectly clear the mayor will not make a statement on this today or ever. So that's a different issue. Again, I can't talk about it right now. But when I can, I will. All right. So, are there any other questions I can answer for you guys? And then we can move on. Fernando Rodriguez has contributed $10. Says, glad you're okay. Of course I'm going to be okay. I'm always going to be okay. Don't worry about it. If the cops would have jumped on the invaders, the cops would have shot them. Oh, yeah, but they didn't. Did they cuff me? No, I was never arrested. No. But I would have been happy to comply. That would have been no problem. Because I know that you have to understand, if you're playing a poker game, right, and somebody thinks you're bluffing, but you don't have any cards because you're not in the game, they're the only ones playing a game, not you. And when they say, we have to take this game seriously, no, I don't. Absolutely, I am under no requirement or obligation to take the game that only you are playing and your little brothers in blue. I have no requirement to play your game. But I'll sit here and I will ask you some questions so you can justify to me why you're playing this game. And then after you're done playing your game, you can come over here and you can apologize to me. You can introduce yourself to me. You can extend a hand. You can do a lot of things. You can smile. You can go, whew, man, that was an adrenaline rush, wasn't it? And I'd say, no, really wasn't. No, you were the adrenaline rush, not me. But you know what? We good? Are we good? You know, it wouldn't have cost them anything. It would have cost them nothing. Just bad decision making. And I'm trying to get to the bottom of why those decisions were made. I want to know if those decisions followed any well, I already know, right? But I still have to go through the process. If they violated any protocol, they didn't. If he would have done what I expected him to do as a professional, he would not have violated any protocol, and everything would have ended completely differently. And it's unfortunate, and I just want to know why. I want an answer from that officer on what is wrong. Was it pride or ego? That's all I want to know. Just tell me which one it was. Was it your pride or your ego? You know, did you not have full control of self-awareness in that moment? And perhaps should you not have been in that position because of that? I want some acknowledgement of self-awareness. That's the only way I think you can educate people, is to make them self-aware. If they don't realize what they're doing is wrong, they can continue that behavior. But when you step by step go through it and say, okay, let's stop the tape here. Why did you say that? What was going through your mind when you could have said this instead? I want to understand, what are you thinking? And, you know, maybe there's a good reason in there. I can't imagine there's a better reason than being polite. Until, certainly at the end, when all the information was answered, there was no reason to not be polite. To turn your back and walk away, wow. It's very disrespectful. No way to treat somebody who is much older than you with much more life experience, who would jump in front of a bullet to save your life. You really need to think about the consequences of your actions as an officer of the law, including those actions, and especially those actions involving pranks, false calls, and again, trauma. They need to accept responsibility for that. It'll cost them nothing, and in the end, I'll be happy and they'll be happy, and there's no losers here. The attitude they took with the response was uncalled for, unjustifiable, and I think once I'm able to talk to them when we play this out and ask them what would have happened if you'd have said this instead, what do you think would have happened, and why didn't you say that, and what are you afraid of if you would have said that, what do you think would have happened? I suspect they really don't have answers for it because they never really thought about it before. So that's why I say we'll try and make something positive out of this and help the community. And this doesn't help just me, this helps everybody that has to deal with any of my local law enforcement officers to be more self-aware of their attitude, to be able to exercise judgment between a good guy and a bad guy, and then make corrections accordingly. It's really simple stuff. It's really simple stuff. All right, looks like I missed a couple contributions. Let's go through and take a look at what I missed here. Let's see. What do we have? Oops. Donnie Seegers contributed $5. He says, I too was bullied when I was young, also falsely arrested. So have a good idea what you're going through and have been through. Thank you, Donnie. Gainsy95 has contributed £5. He says, I'm totally shocked at what I watched yesterday. Well, on the plus side, I was live streaming. On the negative side, I just had it in the small window. You know, I wish when I was going out and I had a hunch that's what it was, I should have taken a moment. I know next time. And luckily the security cam was running. So even though the footage is a little grainy, it's there. And I'm so glad I got the security cams. I highly recommend it for everybody. Putting a security cam on your front door that points at your front door, because if you get burglarized, if they don't come in through the front door, they'll probably go out through it. And, you know, even a poor quality, you can at least get an idea of how many people, their gender, their age. You can get an idea of who the culprits are, even on a cheap IP camera. They're so cheap nowadays, I can't see why you wouldn't want to do it. Mark Musgrave has contributed $5. He says, if it weren't for you, I'd be an insomniac. Am I helping you sleep? I'm glad I could help. Again, my home address is not is not hidden. Just because you never looked for it doesn't mean it was suddenly exposed. That's weird. So many people are telling me my address was never hidden. It's never ever been hidden. Never. You just never looked for it before. That's all. Programmed behavior is faster and safer. Yeah, but again, once that program behavior was executed, was the program behavior to be a jerk and to scamper away also justifiable in the safety of the police officers, life or death? It was no longer a life or death situation. They were fully on board. They had no choice, but despite their attempts to deny reality, once they reached a point of exhausting everything they could to match their imagination, they felt, it appeared, the body language was they felt like they lost a game, and they left. It's disgraceful. That the way they ended that was disgraceful. Period. I don't know how anybody could think it wasn't. You can justify what they did all day long, but once they did it, how they ended it, I don't know. What planet are you from? Do you live in North Korea? It's weird, man. It's weird that you would think, yeah, they didn't like you. It's not my fault. I believed I asked very reasonable questions. Go back and listen again. You listen to the one who is calm. Listen to what I'm saying. Listen, like I said, get a pen and write it down. And then write down the officer's response. And I want you to think about other responses the officer had a choice to say. The officer did that intentionally because he saw I was wearing a microphone. It's a psychological game knowing that the audio is being played. In fact, at the end, when I reminded them as a courtesy that they were being broadcasted live on a microphone, made a big show of it. Hey, everybody yelled really loudly. Go back and hear it. And that was the lieutenant, by the way. And then listen to the ridicule of the other officers when he says he doesn't know who I am. I never suggested he should know who I was. I never said I was famous. All I told him was there's 1,000 people listening to you right now. Why he heard I was famous or why he heard that he was supposed to know who I was, that's like a mental illness. He wasn't listening. When the other officers said, yeah, I didn't hear of you either, and I don't know who you are, ha, ha, ha. That's ridicule. That's what bullies do. They ganged up on me, but it doesn't work on me. I just looked at them like, you must all be morons. You must all be literally the dumbest people on the face of the planet. Do you think you're still in high school? You're walking around with a badge and a gun and you're belittling me and ridiculing me like a gang of bullies on a high school? Is this? So I didn't say that, obviously, you can hear, but if you could see my reaction was like, really? This is you're gonna ridicule me. Wow, professional police officers ridiculing a law-abiding citizen. Wow. And some of you think that's okay. That's another wow. Clearly, Internal Affairs doesn't think it's okay, and we're going to make sure that the proper investigation is done. You'll see. Both sides were not polite. I was very polite. Name one thing I said that wasn't polite. I was very polite. I had to ask the same questions over and over because they refused to answer and they were trying to escalate and argue. I don't know what argument, I don't know what you heard. Seriously, go back and write down what I'm saying because you're not hearing it right. You're hearing the tone of the officer's voice in a psychological way that he knows he's getting audio only. But you have to imagine if you actually write it down and you look at it objectively, you'll see that I'm the one calm and reasonable. I'm not the one instigating an argument. I'm simply looking for an answer to my question, and they did everything they could to dodge the question and change the subject. Listen. Listen to the misbehavior. It wasn't for me. Absolutely. Police way overreacted, and the police did not step back and correct. That's the problem. When I ask somebody a very legitimate and reasonable question, and if they dodge that question, it's a little frustrating to have to keep repeating myself time and time again, or answer the same questions over and over again, because what's the point of talking if you're not being heard? It's disrespectful, it's insulting, and it's not professional behavior. I want to see professional behavior. I believe most of those cops there would have exhibited professional behavior. Unfortunately, the gentleman I got, maybe he was having a bad day, or maybe this is the way he is normally. But again, Internal Affairs will investigate it, and we'll do a proper investigation. And we'll make sure that proper training is put in place to ensure that the likelihood of this happening again, or a law-abiding citizen being spoken to in such a disrespectful manner after all considerations of danger have been resolved, is accountable. And so again, I'll get the dash cam and body cam and the 911 call. That's all available for public record. Anybody can request it, by the way. It's public record. That's how journalism works. So it's not free, but you can certainly obtain it. Time is it? All right, guys, I think I'm going to wrap this up here shortly. So here's what we're going to do. And again, I don't, I'm afraid in my response to some people in chat, people might get the wrong idea that I don't support police. I do support police. I don't support police abuse or abuse from police. And no police officer can abuse a citizen in the United States. It's illegal. And I want to make sure that the actions of this police officer, where they weren't illegal, there were some poor choices made. And I think they need to reflect on the choices they make in the future in similar situations. It's a very simple request. I also think dispatch needs to be educated, and we'll work with them on getting them educated. Or if they refuse to talk to me, they can talk to the neighboring city's police department, who's well aware of it, and I'm sure they can share their policies and procedures and, take what's right for them and make it fit for their department. But I will see this through to the end, guaranteed. Maybe slow, but that's okay. Let's see, what do we have? Oh, I will cover that a little later. All right, guys, so anything else? Carey, have you contacted the local media? Yeah, it's already been on. If you look in the video notes below this video, you'll see a link there. I feel sorry for anybody that won't stand up for their rights. If you won't stand up for your rights, if you think you should lay down and be beaten, I feel bad for you. I feel really sorry for you. If you think it's okay for police to abuse, if you think that it is not your right to defend your rights against anybody who's trying to take them, I feel bad for you. I just feel bad for you. I wouldn't want to be you if you can justify that sort of action from people that are supposed to serve and protect you. There's no law. There's no law that says you have to agree with everything somebody tells you. There's no law that says everything they did was by the book. That's what Internal Affairs is for. Several protocols were dropped, as I've already mentioned. And we're going to find out who's responsible for that. And again, not to punish, but to educate and to make sure it doesn't happen again. And that next time, not only will proper protocols be enforced, but ideally, when it's all said and done and the police involved realize that they've been abusing a law-abiding citizen and causing a traumatic effect and invading their home, that they realize the damage they've caused because they had to, but they will still extend a hand and a smile and say, sorry this happened, man, you know, sorry it happened. It's nice to, you know, perhaps meet you and now we know who you are. They didn't have to just scamper away like sore losers. That was a very poor choice, very poor choice. I wasn't, so when you say arguing with the police, I wasn't arguing with him, he was arguing with me. Again, go back and listen. I'm very calm. I'm asking questions. I'm not getting answers, so I'm asking those questions again. And the officer was just not very good at articulating sentences in the situation that he was in. Maybe he does normally. I don't know what he normally does, but he should not have been in that position. It's like dealing with somebody intoxicated. He was intoxicated with fear, I'm assuming. I don't think he's like that normally. And should have handed it off to somebody else. He should have taken some time away. He could have come back at any time and knocked on my door and apologized. He can still do that. We'll see. Rudiger Luthies contributed $10. Gary, glad you're too afraid of the dog's safety. I think your response was very restrained. I agree. I think I was very restrained. I was very calm. Again, go back and listen. It's the officer who's panicking. I'm calm and I'm trying to talk him down. And the calmer I am, the more upset he gets. And the more he tries to scare me and the more I kind of laugh at it, it's like, you're not scary, dude. You're a child with a gun. You don't intimidate me. Shoot me. Go ahead. If you feel justified to shoot me, then shoot me. I'm not going to stop your bullet. Do it. I'd rather die. You guys need to look up the history of America to understand the general attitude of most Americans. You give me liberty or give me death. And unfortunately, there's a whole generation that seems to embrace fear and think everything needs to happen for them. It appears that way, anyway. So, maybe a dying breed, but that's who I am. That's how I was raised. Right is right, wrong is wrong. I have a very strong moral compass. You can't justify bullying and intimidation. I'm sorry, you can't. You've got to be someone I absolutely feel sorry for if you think that's okay. I mean, you must be a bully yourself. That's all I can think, that you would in any way, shape, or form think that what you heard on that was acceptable. Yeah, I just feel bad for you. If he comes back and says he's sorry, take him out for a donut and coffee. Hey, listen, I hold no ill will, but when I hold my hand out and it's smacked away, you're going to have to come to me now. I've made my attempt. I tried to reason with an unreasonable group of people that were feeding off of each other. I wasn't playing their game. They were upset that I refused to play. They got frustrated that they were incapable. I can only imagine that they were incapable of scaring me or getting me to take what they were doing seriously, because there was nothing serious about it. Once they realized there was nothing serious, see, they didn't know. I'm the only one who knew what was happening. I'm the only one. And once they realized, once it became clear to them that everything I told them was true, and in fact, I was the only one who knew what was going on, they didn't thank me for that. They didn't even want to get to know me. They just scampered away like sore losers. And it's weird, man. It's just strange to have somebody. It'd be like imagine if you were shopping at a store and somebody tackled you to the ground and went through your pockets because somebody said they saw you shoplifting. They dig through your pockets and they come up with nothing. And they go, you're fine. And they walk away. They don't help you up. They don't apologize. They just walk away. How would you feel? They have the right to do that to you? Well, I wasn't physically assaulted. I was verbally and mentally assaulted, and the trauma in that is very real. And whether or not you agree with that or don't, I don't really care, because I know what I feel. I know what PTSD is, and I know the emotions that were rushing through my brain at that time, and the self-control that I exhibited that the officers apparently had no training on how to do. So apparently I'm better trained than the officers with regards to controlling emotion and thinking logically and reasonably. Or it's trained out of them. Maybe they're not allowed to think. I don't know. I honestly don't know. And I hope that it's an isolated event, and I want to do everything I can to ensure it stays that way. That's all. Mark Musgrave says, how was your Twitter hacked the second time after you changed the password? So with Twitter, if you're signed into any other account through Twitter, like a Twitter app on a phone, you can still post to Twitter after you've changed your password. I don't know why Twitter does that. So it was suggested to me in the chat that I switch over to two-factor authentication. And I was like, yeah, I don't have to worry about two-factor. If I would have enabled two-factor authentication, the second one wouldn't have happened, but the SWAT would have happened. Look, there's only 463 followers on Twitter. So I'll probably just create another Twitter account. I don't care. I mean, arguing with Twitter is pointless. They're complete morons. If you steal an account, it's yours. As far as Twitter is concerned, if you steal it, it's yours. If the original owner says it's mine, they don't care. They say, sorry, nothing we can do to help you. That being said, I'll still talk to Twitter, at the very least, to get the account shut down. But in the meantime, I'll probably just create another account. It's really not a big deal. You know, there's not that many followers on it. So honestly, it's not a big deal. Michael Van Loon has contributed €5, says hello. Hi, Michael. See, did I miss anybody's contribution? Oh, it looks like Mark has sent that twice. Thank you, Mark. Jim I Will 49 contributed $1.99. Thank you, Jim. Sterling's contributed $2. Benny Vidivici's contributed $2. Immelman Whiplash has contributed $2. Mark Musgrave again. And it looks like I got everybody. Oh, Bill Ottinger contributed $1. Thank you, Bill. Red Dragon contributed $5. Neil Garrett contributed $4.99. Sterling contributed $5. Art Awesome contributed $5. It looks like I missed a lot of these. Sorry about that. Dragon 7 contributed 10 Canadian dollars. Okay, I think I got the rest. I think I got them. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. You know, you guys rock, and much like the situation there, the vast majority of people that watch this you're good people, and I consider many of you friends, especially those who support and contribute and participate and don't instigate and stir a pot. I really appreciate that very much, and for that, you know, I'm sort of out of words for that. I just want you to know how much it means to me, and will continue to mean to me. I don't take it very lightly. I think that support in this world is lacking, and so to have a large supportive community and to hopefully grow that community and make it 10 times bigger is something I very much look forward to here. Mira Aurora contributed $10. He's glad everyone's okay. It's sad someone would do that to such a kind person. Again, really nothing I'm concerned about. It's really, again, the attitude of the police that after everything was cleared, they maintained a stubborn, I don't want to say pig-headed because it's kind of an innuendo there and it's not what my intention is, but just obtuse attitude that was no longer qualifiable or justifiable. Shocking, absolutely shocking. Look up the word professional. It is not defined by that. So I'm okay. I hope all of you are okay. I hope any of you that were impacted by that emotionally, rest assured, everything's fine. It was really not a big deal. It really was not a big deal. And it'll happen again. It will happen again. Rest assured it will happen again. And let's hope those lessons from the first time, you know, for all I know, could be happening right now. And perhaps the police are now behaving differently on it. I have no way to know. And we'll see what time brings. Troll McTrollington's contributed $3.50 Canadian. This one's to keep away the Loch Ness Monster. What do you want, Loch Ness Monster? What do you want? About Tree Biddy. Yeah, the police ridiculing me, suggesting I didn't have a grasp on reality while they're feeding off their vivid imagination was so bizarre. It was bizarre. You don't expect police to ridicule you like children on a playground, and that's exactly what they did. So I'm very grateful that it happened while I was live and I can get it all recorded. If it wasn't live, who knows how much of that potentially would have been recorded. I was about to pull my cell phone out and record, but I knew I was capturing the audio, and I thought, that'll be good enough. I don't want to. I could have gotten their face with my camera. I could have gone much further legally, much more argumentative with every legal ground to do so. But I did show a modicum. I did show restraint, and I did show respect. I did not swear to them, at them. I did not insult them, and nor did I obstruct them. Let's remember all of that. They escalated. They continued to escalate, and when they had no reason to escalate, they escalated again. It's just weird, man. It's weird. That's all I can say. It doesn't make any sense that the police would behave in such a manner after all the threats were resolved. It's a psychological issue. Immelman Whiplash contributed $2 as time wounds all heal. Bob Preston's contributed $5. Did you visit the docs bin? Yeah, again, all the information provided is all simple stuff that's always been available. If you've ever looked, there's nothing exposed there. It's always been available. You just never looked before. So I don't hide from anybody, guys. I've never hid from you. I've never hid from anybody. If you were desperate enough to want to know where I was and you put a little tiny bit of effort into finding it, you'd see. You'd have to pick through some false addresses and some past addresses. But, if you put some effort into it, it's really something you could accomplish, and I would guess under 3 minutes. So just because you never tried before, I don't want you to think for a minute that anything in that docs thing is exposing anything that wasn't and always hasn't been available to you guys. You just never looked before. So no worries. It's really nothing. So anyway, guys, here's what all I need you to know is you don't need to you don't need to be fired up about it. It's all being handled, and sometimes piling onto that is going to make me look like the very thing I'm accusing them of when they piled on me. So please don't. I don't want to outnumber them, and I don't. Whether they like it or not, they're my friend. They just have to learn to accept that. Those officers need to learn that I'm their friend, and I will do everything I can and whatever is required to get that through their thick heads. I am their friend. Whether they like it or they don't, I am their friend. Winston Angloos contributed $2 Canadian. Said Canadian police would never act like that. Well, I don't know. They still had a job to do. Never stopped them from doing their job. Never stopped them. Never told them they couldn't search the house. I never said that. I never obstructed them. I never prevented them. And when they were done and they did what they needed to do, why did they continue to berate me and insult me and ridicule me and drive away? Tell me that. What made that okay? You're planning on releasing the security footage as permitted. There are certain reasons that I can't go into, but rest assured when the time is right, the information that I can release will be released as soon as it can be. I'd have no reason to hold it once it can be released. So don't worry about that. It's just a little early for that. All right, guys. Again, Mark Musgraves contributed $5. What's the best deal on a pre-built PC? I don't buy pre-built PCs, and I don't think you should either. The best deal is to build your own, man. You got to build your own. Gary, they owe you $10,000. That's an arbitrary amount of money. Honestly, if something were to occur, let's just say, if something were to occur, and I was awarded an amount of money, let's just say, I would immediately donate that money back to the police department. Okay? Let's be very clear on that. This is not a ghetto lottery, as they call it. This is not an opportunity to get rich off of a mistake or an error. This is an opportunity to learn. And if in such a case an award were to be offered, I would accept it, and then I would pass it off back to the Glendale Police Department under the condition that it's used for updated training and procedural and protocols regarding swatting calls and how citizens are treated when they're found to be innocent. So that, just so we're clear on that, this is not an opportunity to punish. This is an opportunity to educate. Geo Johnson's contributed $5, says, too bad they can't find the guy who started the chaos. Why would you think they can't find the guy? I mean, yeah, that's too bad they can't find the guy. I'm just kind of scrolling your comments, see if I missed anything computer related in here. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I see it appears to be dinner time for Jimmy and Lyle. Thank you guys again for all your support and your kindness, and I will try to be live tomorrow. I've got to get a couple of things wrapped up here related to business, and I'm not quite sure how much time it'll take. So I'm not sure if it'll be live Wednesday, but if not, I'll certainly be live Thursday. I'm just not sure yet. $5 was contributed by Umbre, true honest American right here, folks, where the rest go. Can't speak for anybody but myself. I like to think there's a lot more people like me. Just want to look one more time. Okay. All right, guys. So look, I hope all of you rest easy. Everything's being handled. Everything's being done according to the way it should be done now as far as internal affairs goes. And if and when there's more information to pass on, I will do so. In the meantime, I'd like to get the channel back starting tomorrow. I just wanted to make this final sort of bookend here on this topic for now. We'll revisit it later when the time is right. And then we'll pick up tomorrow, or Thursday rather, I'm not sure yet, with where we left off with this machine, and try again. You gotta love live, right? You gotta love the nature of reality versus polished, planned, and scripted videos. To me, I don't know how you guys can watch polished and scripted videos. I don't know how you do it. It feels so phony and fake and disingenuous. But be that as it may, I'm glad many of you convinced me to stream live, and many of you made it possible through contributions that I could make it possible. And I'm so glad that it was all recorded and caught on camera. I'm so glad that you guys showed such concern, and I hope all of you guys can relax now, know that everything's okay, and things are in progress. Let's just leave it at that. So thank you guys for watching. Thanks for everybody who's contributed today and of course in the past. Thank you to all my friends in blue, all my wrenches. Thank you guys for keeping it civil in the chat. Obviously it was a big turnout today given the topic of the video. And then let's talk some tech very soon. Until then, I will see you guys, and bye for now.